Hello folks, this is Orange County Executive Steve Neuhaus. Super excited to be here. I'm in Otisville at Freedom Hill Farm with my friend Chris Vreeland, who has got an awesome story. 5th generation Orange County farmer living on this property, has a wonderful family and a wonderful story. So with that, Chris, welcome.
Steve, thanks for coming.
Thank you for allowing me to be here at your store, at your farm. I met you a couple years ago, and we talked about some of the exciting stuff that you've done in your life and how you've changed, and really, it's really inspirational. And I think that the residents of Orange County and everybody that joins us on these podcasts that is either looking at making a change or looking about how hard work pays off, you're that guy. So
thank you.
Let's talk about, you grew up here your whole life?
Actually, we grew up about 10 miles away in Slate Hill.
Yeah.
And my dad and mom had a farm, over 2,000 cows. So we were mass producing milk, probably 90,000 pounds a day. And that drove me out of farming.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So I had gone to school for agricultural business, came back, and I said to my dad, this isn't for me, and I took off. So fast forward, he sold the farm to his partner, and he's a true farmer. It's in his blood. He couldn't get away from it. So we came up and approached his dad, who lived here on this farm, and said, can I milk cows again? And after a lot of talking and arguing and back and forth, he said, yeah, you can milk some cows here. So I think back in 2007, they got 9 Jersey cows. They filed with the state and got a raw milk license and started selling raw milk out of the store here. So you fast forward about 6 years from then, and I was working at Dana Distributors, fantastic local company selling Anheuser-Busch products. And my dad presented me with an opportunity to sell his cultured dairy products. He was making yogurt and kefir at the time. And with the background and learning I'd taken from Dana's, I took a leap of faith. You know, I left a very solid, stable job, put all my savings into this business and started it up. Now I'm in my 7th year, and it's working out.
Every year getting stronger or staying above the, I mean, you dealt with COVID. I think that's when I met you. Like in the middle of the crisis, people are still wanting to come here and get good products. Yeah,
every year's getting stronger. My first year, I'd written my business plan out, and I wasn't looking to grow into a massive company. I wanted to have a stable life, get my bills paid, save a little bit, and most importantly, I wanted time with my family. So I estimated if I sold 50 cases a week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was enough to keep me going, I'd be fine. So as the years went by, my first year was 50, my next year was 65, my next year was 120. I'm now doing 200 cases a week. I've got 2 drivers with me, and I never looked back.
It's funny, I just came back from the West Coast and talking to county execs, 24 of us from around the country got together, and we talked about the dairy industry and how tough it is. And you're talking about a family that you had 2,000 cows when you were a young guy, and now your parents have changed and you have changed. And how do you go from that to now going into yogurt and kefir? That's a huge change. Is that a gamble? Did you say, hey, I see other people doing it, we should get in on this too?
I don't think it's a gamble. I think it was a necessity.
Okay.
Today, if you're a farmer just selling milk to a co-op, it's a tough life. I feel terrible for so many farmers out there who, I think I said earlier, it's in your blood. If you're a farmer, it's not in my blood. I'm not going to come out and milk cows. I give all that credit to my mom and dad. But man, my dad lives for this.
Yeah.
And if you're shipping all that milk to a co-op, you can't make a living. There's no possible way with the milk prices nowadays that you can sustain. And you see farms are leaving the county left and right. Not just the county, the state, the country, they're dwindling. So my dad and mom had the idea, let's get some value-added products. You know, the raw milk they're selling at retail instead of co-op prices. And then with the value-added products, yogurt, kefir, and now buttermilk, we're selling all of our milk out of this store. And, you know, it sustains a living. We've got, they've got, I want to say 9 employees here. I've got 2, and this little farm milking 40 cows twice a day is supporting that number of people.
Wow. Now, you mentioned about you, that's not maybe in your blood anymore. What about your kids? You got kids too.
If they ever come here, they'd be the 6th generation. It'd be a great story, but I won't push them.
Okay, they're still young.
They're still young, and they've got
in academics and sports.
Basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever they're playing, that's what's on their mind. And I'm guilty in not getting them up here enough to have a little bit more farm life, but they do love coming up here, seeing the cows, jumping in the sawdust, climbing on the hay bales.
Yeah, my
And,
kids every time I tell all my friends, I come home from work every day. They're like, "What do you want to go to the farm? I'm going to take a ride." Yeah, they all jump in my car.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go over there and do the same type of stuff. When did you guys open up the country store here?
This goes back 3 years. So initially they started in the barn. We have a NeuCAST milk store, and people will call their milk orders in. We'll package it, put their name on it, and they come and get it. It's honor system. Grab your milk, drop your envelope in the box. And we said, you know what, we can do so much more here. Everyone's coming for the milk. What can we do? So you look around the store, and there's got to be 1,500, 2,000 SKUs. They can come in here. They can get their bread, their meat, their chicken, honey. We've got local jams. We try to keep everything as local as possible. And we built this, 3 years ago, and it's been great.
Yeah, this is great.
We've got a great following, a lot of regular customers and new customers every week.
So majority of the people that are your customer base, are they going to be like the people who live in the area, or do you have a lot of people that are coming like to wineries and driving through and saying, "Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing"?
Ironically, the bulk of our business is from far away.
Really?
Yeah, we've got people who come up from Manhattan and Brooklyn. They'll come from Jersey, and we sent a flyer out, a mailer out, probably 2 years ago, and we were shocked at how many people lived around the corner that didn't know we were here. So, it's off the beaten path. It's a back road. If you're zipping by in your daily busy life, you're not taking a turn to go and explore what's there. So word of mouth has helped, but people seeking out raw milk has been the bulk of our business.
I remember getting milk delivered. I mean, I tell some people that they're like astounded that this happened. But I remember getting milk delivered on our front doorstep, and then you leave it out and they'd replace it. And it's funny, I've been, when I was knocking on doors and campaigning, especially in other counties and helping people running, you knock on a door, I'm like, that's a box for milk. So that seems to be making a comeback in other areas too.
Yeah, there's a company over in Westchester that does that, great little company, and they do just that. They've got ice boxes that they set outside, and they'll deliver anything from milk, yogurt, beef, and they've got a fantastic business, but people like that feel. They like the freshness of the product they're getting. They like not driving to the supermarket.
Yeah, it's funny. We have beef cattle, and every once in a while we work with a farmer, and we process one, and you can't get enough of it to put on the market. And I think people want to know where their stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
More than any, like the price is not the problem anymore. They're really concerned about what they're eating and what they're feeding their family.
The thing about this day and age, though, is the price isn't such an issue because everything in the supermarket's spiking. So whereas before you might pay twice as much for some grass-fed beef, and my numbers aren't exact,
right
now that gap is closing. So you're going to get a store brand cut of meat where you could go and get a fresh cut from a farmer, and it's really not that much different financially.
It's funny, like you have such a diverse, the store has all sorts of stuff. Many things you make, many things you don't make that you've partnered up with other people. There's other farms like in Chester, we have the Johnson family who has Long Lot Brewery, and over the years he has added Curtis, who's like our generation, all sorts of stuff. So when you're there, it's not just buying beer or you can buy a local wine. You can also buy now all sorts of produce. He always has eggs and cheese and meat in the freezer, in the refrigerator, either one to take home. And I think it's just, not only is it a good thing, I think it's catching on all over the place.
Yeah. Well, you see that with Pennings out in Warwick, from an orchard to a cidery to an on-premise bar, live music, and that's what it's become. People are looking for an experience when they go shopping.
Yeah. Well, that is fun there. I do love going there. They're a good family too. I've always had they have nothing but great stuff to say about them as well. Yeah. And that experience is fun.
Great people. But the experience is it. You have a destination to go for. If you're going to drive up from Manhattan, you don't want to drive up, pick up your milk, and drive back. So that's why we've opened this farm up. It's visitor friendly to anybody all the time, 7 days a week. Those cows never get a day off.
That's great. Yeah.
But you can come up here any day of the week and you'll see 15, 20 cars parked out here. You walk in the barn, my dad's milking, and there's 20 people watching him milk.
That's wild.
And you don't find that in a lot of farms. And I get it, because there's a lot that you have to do. You've got to be focused on what you're doing. But for someone from Manhattan or Westchester or West Town to go and experience a dairy farm and be able to go and see the inner workings of it, that's important. You know, that's part of our heritage.
Absolutely.
And it's great to share.
Do you? How do you partner up with these people in here? Like, how do you find the person that's raising the honey, or the one that's like making the different cheese that you don't have? Or I see you have like cakes or pies in here, and how do you meet them? They come in and say, "Hey, can I sell some of my stuff?" Or because you used to do this for Budweiser, that gave you some idea on marketing and getting your product out there. How do you meet some of these partnerships here?
It's a little bit of, they come to us, we go to them. So for the local honeys and maple syrups, we just knew who was local.
Okay.
So I went to Finding Home Farms. I went to Jeff Stark, who produces some local raw honey, and just started doing business with them. Other people will find us, send us a note, an email, give us a call, say, hey, we like your store, can you carry our product? So again, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
As far as marketing from Dana Distributors, they taught me everything I know about business. They've been fantastic to me. I still have great rapport with them. It was great for relationships too. You know, I think the biggest thing in business is your relationships with your customers, both retail and direct. When I started this business, people didn't know Freedom Hill Farm. So my weeks were spent probably, I'd say 30 hours a week, setting up a little table, bringing my product in and pouring samples and just handing it to people, letting them taste it. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I wish the reactions were bigger from the people that loved it. But I went out and I sampled and sampled and sampled. And I'd spend 2 hours per store in every store that I had every single week. And finally it took. I did that for about 2 years. And then I got to the point where I had enough of a customer base I could kind of relax off of that and focus more on marketing with shelf talkers, door stickers, things of that nature, and really focus on getting the product into more stores, running sales, getting that volume out there. And it all took, man. People started grabbing onto it, and I've got a good, solid customer base. I love it. The people are great. They love the product, and I'm so thankful for them. And a lot of people love the product, but they love that it is local.
So you have a lot of people listening, and this is a great story. I mean, you just got me thinking, and you know, people are listening and they're like, I'm going to get out of my groove that I'm in now, and I want to try something else. I have a passion for this, or I want to make a change in my life. You're telling me like it was 2 years you're doing these samples, and you're getting mixed reactions. You want to quit it at all? Did you ever come to a point like, man, I don't know if this is going to work out, or you just said, I got to keep doing this?
No, I pushed forward, man. I knew if I kept hitting the pavement, getting it in people's hands, there's enough health-conscious people out there. And the reality is, we have plain yogurt. I don't do flavors. I don't do anything fancy. It's more of a...
You can add to it if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to put sugar in your yogurt, do it. I'm not putting sugar in it for you.
Yeah.
And you go out and read labels of all the different flavored yogurts out there. It's amazing how much sugar we consume. We've got 5 grams of sugar in our yogurt, and that comes from the milk. It's not added. And that was one of my biggest selling points.
Yep.
The kefir, I hadn't known about kefir before my parents started producing it.
I didn't know it until I met you a couple years ago.
And it's such a wonderful health food. It's full of probiotics, and we've got a very good kefir. People come up from Brighton Beach, a lot of Ukrainians and Russians. It's a staple in their society. And they'll come up and buy our kefir, and they say, this is like it was at home.
Wow.
And they can't find it in any other kefir. So that is a fantastic testimony from these people.
Now, do you sell to just individuals, like families coming in, or do you also have commercial like that are being sold? Is your product being sold in any restaurants or stores?
I've got 75 stores.
Wow.
I have been fortunate to get into ShopRites. They've been fantastic. They push local business.
That's great to hear.
I'm only in New York. We're licensed for New York State. We can't cross state lines, but there's plenty of business here. So I'm in ShopRites, Hannaford's, Adams Fairacre Farms, DeChico Family Markets.
Wow, good.
Nature's Pantry. I can go on and on. Great customers. They've all been good to me. You know, I go in and you don't always make a great first impression. At least I don't.
Okay.
But I turn it around. If it's not a great first impression, typically I do, but if it's not, I can find a commonality between us. And I've got to say, I don't have 75 customers. I have 75 friends.
That's awesome.
Plus the vast number of people in those stores. It's great. You know, I'm in one to Chico, quick story, and I'm packing my yogurt out, and the fella who I do business with is putting Christmas lights up, and he's moving a step ladder. I said, Abby, get out of the way. I'm 6'8". I grabbed the lights, I went down, I tacked them up, I saved him a half an hour. He was happy. I was happy to help. But that's it. I don't sell my yogurt and leave. I develop relationships, and that's probably been the most rewarding thing of this business. I've met so many people.
That's great. So, what was the most challenging thing to just getting up and doing this, or what was the most challenging part of making this move in your life?
Leaving stability. You know,
taking that plunge, basically.
Taking the plunge, man. I had a good living. I had steady income. I knew what I was getting every other Friday, and I left, and that check stopped. So I probably went for maybe 7-8 months before I started seeing income come back. I was getting paid, but I had to deplete my savings to get my van, to get my boxes, every supply I had to get. I didn't have a baseline fund for that. So I used my savings up with the blessings of my wife. I did it, and
That's
I stuck
great.
with it. You know, we're a faith-based business. If you ever walk in the barn, you can't hide that. So a lot of prayer went into it, a lot of hard work, and there's still a lot of hard work. I said I did this to spend more time with my kids. I probably work more than I ever have, but being my own boss, I can choose when I work. So I can cut out early today to get to a basketball game that I'm coaching and work longer tomorrow.
So you said you grew up 10 minutes from here. You went to Minnesink?
Yeah.
And where did your wife grow up? Where's she from?
5 minutes from where I grew up.
Okay.
Yep.
Minnesink as well, or no?
Minnesink as well. Ironically, we didn't meet till after high school.
Okay.
But local, born and raised, and love being here.
And your kids are going to where now? Minnesink too?
All Minnesink.
That's great.
Yep. We love the school district, and great teachers, great administrators. It's everything about it. We're so glad to have our kids here where we grew up.
We do. We often go to Minnesink, whether it's their elementary school, to like their national reading I get invited to, or some of their other events, and it is a great school district.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that have went there. They've produced Olympians, they've produced elected officials, business people, and I can't say anything but positive stuff about that school district. During the pandemic, they were great partners, and their teachers are. We have a lot of fun with them. We do all sorts of cool stuff. So. That's great. So we talked about the business experience. We talked about your wife, where you're from, your kids. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 boys, and
they're all in Minnesink.
Yeah.
They come here to have fun.
Yep.
You're not sure if they'll have the bug to work here, but right now it's all athletics and academics.
Yeah. All 3. I'm coaching all 3 in basketball. So I've got a 8th grade, 5th grade, and 1st grader. So my nights are gobbled up, quite a bit. When it's not basketball, it's baseball in the spring and fall. And we try to get away. Summers we go away once or twice. And getting up here, I live about 12 minutes away, so it's not just run down to the farm. It's got to be planned. It's an active life, and I think that's society anymore.
Yeah.
It's.
And you and I grew up as outdoorsmen and hunting, fishing, as well as everything else. You're still doing that with the boys as well.
Oh yeah. My oldest likes to hunt. My youngest 2 talk way too much to sit in a stand.
Yeah, I feel I have a 5 and an 8-year-old, and you're not getting anything, but it's nice to get out there with them. So you'll see a lot of squirrels.
Tons of squirrels.
Yeah.
I carry my fishing pole spring to fall in my van, and if I have a free half an hour, I stop and fish when I can, and they all love fishing.
That's great. Yeah, mine do too as well. They'd probably rather do that than hunting or anything else.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, myself as well. Looking to the future, as far as we talked about. You remember the late Phil Johnson, Bill Johnson, his father, talked about the hundreds of dairy farmers that were here 50 years ago, and now they're less than 20. And you guys got creative with this to at least you have a small head of dairy cattle. As you said, about 40 or so. Right
I'm milking 40, probably 70 on site.
70 on site. The future. What do you think about the future with farming?
My wife yells at me about this all the time because I don't plan too far ahead in the future.
Yeah.
But I think ideally, as my parents age out of this, they're getting up there. My dad's 67, my mom's 65, and they're not going to want to do this forever.
Right.
So ideally, they'll find some young farmer who has it in his blood but can't find a farm who wants to do this. And then we could segue someone in here to milk the cows with or for my dad, get them off a little bit, let them take a break, and then we continue as is. I'm not looking to grow this any more than it is.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I'm doing. I said to you earlier, I'm not here to get rich. I want to get my bills paid and put a little bit away for my kids. But if we stay status quo from here out, I'm a happy man. So if we, at some point, get some help with my dad and have someone milking the cows for us, I think that's the future.
I met a guy, I was working, one of my friends this weekend works for Blue Origin, and we're getting into like the space race and all this stuff. He said, I took a major pay cut. I wanted to be happy. Yeah. And he goes, my whole life I wanted to get into the aerospace industry, and I've now found a way in there. And ultimately, it's about being happy. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, one last thing with the farms, we work very closely with the Orange County Land Trust, which helps landowners at least preserve property. And we're seeing, like you're saying, a young couple that wants to be a farmer and buy a farm in Goshen, or buy a farm in Warwick, or out here in Otisville, or way beyond it, any of these towns that still have the property and the wherewithal to get, a small pocket farm or a gentleman's farm, as they used to call them, done. And I'm seeing the industry seems to be growing. At least in that aspect, we are seeing these younger couples that want to try different niche farming. Yeah,
I think just listen to a podcast, and I'm forgetting regenerative farming. That's coming more into style, more fashionable, and it's all self-contained. So you have a few cows, you have a few pigs, you might grow some crops. Yeah. I think we'll see a lot more of that. As far as the dairy industry is concerned, I think we're seeing it all go into these massive co-op farms where you have 10, 20, 40,000 cows, and it's mass produced. And you need it. I get it. Everyone's drinking milk. Yeah. But it is nice to see a lot of these folks come up out of the city, and they do what I did. They leave everything behind and they start a little family operation. That's great. Yeah. We need this back to nature. We know people that raise goats over in Cornwall, and I think they both came from corporate America. Mm-hmm. And they just wanted to change. They wanted a different lifestyle. I worked at the World Trade Center in 2001, and everybody's like, oh my God, it was 9/11, everything was happening. But I remember up into that, it was probably the most unhealthy time of my life. I was leaving at 5 a.m., coming home at 8 p.m., and I remember it was dark when I left and dark when I came home. I didn't even know what life was anymore here because of that commute. So I could see where people want to make that plunge and change. We had 2 years ago, in the height of the pandemic, we had 10,000 new people register to vote within a few weeks of Election Day. Just showed you the volume of people that moved up to Orange County and got away and wanted a different lifestyle. So it is a great place to grow up. I've been here my whole life, and like you, I do want to be able to stay here, want to be able to provide for my kids and give them opportunities in the future. Yeah, it's a great county. I love that people move up here. I'm not against progress. I love seeing those fields, but hey, listen, if you love the county, you're going to treat it with respect, come on up. Absolutely. So, Chris, thank you for joining me today. And I think that the residents, it's a diverse county, and your message is not just about yogurt or somebody it's about taking that plunge and wanting to be happy. And we've talked to a couple other people on different podcasts that we've done in the past time, and similar stories and similar, the making that plunge, being able to go home and tell your spouse or tell your friends and family, I got this idea and I want to try something different. And I think that'll make me happy, and that is the American dream. Yeah, I'm living it. I love this country, and I'm glad to be here, Orange County, New York. It's a great place to grow up. Chris, thank you so much. Thank you, Steve. It's always a pleasure seeing you. Likewise. Thank you.